Russia's war against Ukraine is allegedly caused by the United States, and parts of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, Zaporizhia regions and Crimea are not the territory temporarily occupied by the Russian army, but supposedly new lands of the Federation. All these are abstracts from a new textbook on the history of Russia. The Russian invaders also brought it to schools in the temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories. In this section of the textbook about the 2022 invasion, which is more appropriate to call agitation, there are 17 paragraphs of Kremlin propaganda. According to the Russian Minister of Education, the manual is needed to, and I quote, fight against the splitting of peoples and the spread of mistrust between people.
They are rewriting history. For example, we've analyzed the textbook of Form 11. It contains the brilliant strategist Joseph Stalin, but practically nothing is said about repressions. The post-war recovery is presented in a beautiful light, while forgetting about famine in 1947, which literally covered the European territory of the Soviet Union.
In the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, Russia not only imposes anti-Ukrainian and anti-Western sentiments on children, but also militarized education. It creates a young army, children's military patriotic camps, cadet schools, and forces students to watch patriotic Russian films, which are in fact propaganda. So pupils in the temporarily occupied Crimea, starting from the 5th form, will be forced to attend military training in the new academic year.
The extracurricular activity course Basic Military Training will be launched in the 5th and 9th forms from September 1st, and students in the 10th 11th forms will study 4 modules on the basics of military training as part of the federal work program Basics of Safe Living, from the message of the occupying authorities of Crimea.
But Russian schools, especially in the territories occupied in 2022, are not attended by everyone. Many children study in Ukrainian educational institutions in an online format. As of the beginning of the last academic year, there were almost 100,000 of them.
Children continue their education in Ukrainian schools directly through the online format or through the so-called family education, that is, when they receive assignments through Google Drive. Some of the children combine this education, and some of them still do not even go to the so-called Russian schools, which are in the occupied territories.
Russian occupiers are doing everything to prevent children from studying in Ukrainian schools, right up to torture and bullying of their parents. The teachers who did not cooperate with the Russians are also affected. We invited a school director from Kakhovka, Kherson region, and he told us how the occupation authorities tried to break him, sent him into the basement, how they made sure that Ukrainian children did not study online in Ukrainian schools, but went and listened to this nonsense. And very often Russian teachers are brought there. By the way, these teachers who agreed to this can also be held responsible, because this is the assistance to the occupation. Graduates from the temporarily occupied territories can enter Ukrainian universities under a quota. To do this, they need to pass exams in the Ukrainian language and history and provide several documents. All these can be done remotely. In 2023, applications to universities are accepted until September the 23rd. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Valeria Nekipolova, UATV News.